Flooding, rains, and storms continue for portions of our area. And now that Tropical Storm Sara is gone, what does the remainder of November hold for us? Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Welcome back, friends. Rusty here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. Fantastic to see you on a Monday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a nice weekend. Coming up in this video, we've had some flooding, rains, and storms through portions of the Lesser Antilles on this Monday. We'll take a look at that. Drier air has moved back into a lot of our area. We'll look at the island by island rainfall forecast. The remnants of Sara, some of the rain it could bring to the Gulf Coast of the United States and the Bahamas. And again, we are still technically in hurricane season to the end of the month. So tropically speaking, what could be on board as we move through the rest of this November? Love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments section below what's been going on in your area, especially if you've been impacted by Sara. Just want to keep up to date with you guys. Let us know how things have been faring where you live. Surface analysis. This front has worked its way very far south and east thanks to this influence of this high pressure, this ridge of high pressure moving off the Florida coastline. That's what buried Sara into Central America and the Yucatan, not allowing it to stay in the open waters. And there's been a lot of dry air that's come in behind this. Now, along this trough, this dotted line, we've had very heavy storms across portions of the Lesser Antilles. You remember the water spout or the flooding video yesterday out of St. Martin. We have some flooding continuing through portions of the Lesser Antilles today. We'll take a look at that. Do want to start off with what's been happening again in the Yucatan and Central America. Now, again, Sara's done. There is still some moisture associated with this in a very broad mid-level circulation, and we'll talk more about some of the rain it could bring to the Gulf Coast and the Bahamas coming up. But again, it's not going to redevelop into anything tropically. That's good news. And thankfully, drier air has come back in. Take a look at this water vapor imagery, guys. Look at the entrainment of red on our map. That is all the dry air. Luckily, that is also filtered back into coastal Yucatan, Quintana Roo, Belize, and Guatemala, and Honduras. Okay, so there's still a little bit of shower activity here on the western sides of Quintana Roo, but all that moisture is going to get pulled up to the north and to the west. So appreciably, the rain has ended. Now, obviously, we still have some flood issues going on right now, certainly in Honduras, where again, reports of over 40 inches of rain in a couple of spots. But of course, some of Belize has caught some of this flooding as well. Want to show you this picture. This is from the Belize River. It's the Iguana Creek Bridge over the Belize River in Cayo, Belize. This is from Richard L. Here's what he tells me. He says, Rusty, the bridge starts at the red arrow. You can see in the foreground the road narrows sign, right? Now, near the riverbank by the bridge, there's a measuring stick that's 10 feet high, and that is now completely submerged. So there is some of the flooding ongoing over the Belize River and the Iguana Creek Bridge there in the Cayo district. So appreciate Richard sending in that picture. Appreciate him providing the explanation. But obviously, there's a lot of water in this area, and it collects in the low-lying areas. We know that, but we had a lot of areas with very high rainfall totals in Belize and Guatemala, and certainly Honduras. And our thoughts are with those who are still being impacted by some of the flooding. But again, we are at least thankfully drying out here, and I don't have a lot of rain in the forecast in this area, at least anytime soon. So that drier air continues to be a good thing for us here. Now, along the Pacific coastline, there could be some heavier rain still, especially back towards Costa Rica and Panama, where they have been dealing with some flooding in those areas as well. All right, now, for the rest of the Greater Antilles and the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos, if I just go back over to this water vapor imagery, again, look at all of this red that has moved back into these areas. So now you're actually picking up a bit of a north wind from time to time. It's dried things out behind the front, and obviously the rain chances have fallen as well. And really what's been happening is, as this has been pushing to the south and to the east, that drier air has been moving in. So it's gotten drier in Puerto Rico today, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and even on up towards places like Anguilla and St. Martin and St. Bart's, areas that had some heavy rain and storms yesterday. The drier air has snuck in at least for a brief time. So it's very clear to see on this water vapor imagery where the moisture content still is and where some of the heaviest rain is still falling. Take a look at the visible satellite imagery here. And again, you can see that cloud structure. There's yet a few storms right along that trough. And again, anywhere to the north and to the west, a little bit of cloud coverage, but it's been a lot drier day. If you've caught a couple of showers, let me know. But again, much more concentrated, especially from Montserrat South, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique for today, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados. Now, St. Kitts and Nevis, and I do want to highlight this. Earlier in the day, St. Kitts and Nevis was under a flash flood advisory, okay? And again, if I go back over to the water vapor imagery here, that line is right over those islands. And that's actually where we've had some of those prolific rain, right where the drier air is moving into the moisture-laden air of that trough. So places like St. Kitts and Nevis and Barbuda and Antigua and St. Eustatius and Montserrat, all with the highest opportunity for some of the heaviest rain today. St. Kitts and Nevis had that flash flood advisory until the early afternoon hours of this Monday, but that has been allowed to expire. And again, this moisture continues to just bubble up right now. We're trying to get a few showers to return to Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad did have some heavier rain and some localized flooding yesterday. And you can see one little lightning strike there just off the coast of Port of Spain. But this is the area that will continue to see the opportunity for some showers. Not much farther west than that, you run into drier air over Nueva Esparta. It's interesting because that trough line gets back towards the ABC Islands. So Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao is in the same situation as the Northern Lesser Antilles, where they're fighting the opportunity for a few showers here developing along that trough line, but there's also drier air on the doorstep. So the window of opportunity for some rain is beginning to drop there. And then you just have drier air and relatively dry conditions for Jamaica, my friends in Kingston and the Grill, in Portmore and Spanish Town, Grand Cayman, Cuba, and again, nice, dry, comfortable air right now over the Bahamas. Let's go to the Florida Keys. Josh brought us this video yesterday from the Key West Harbor there, running into some decent chop across the water there. You can see that sea spray coming up as he's traversing the harbor. Appreciate Josh sitting in that video. Love to see that. Appreciate again Richard and Josh helping to tell the story here at Meteo Mundo. If you'd like to do that as well, it's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. I'll show you that coming up here in just a minute as well. But again, while we're there, thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to Meteo Mundo. You want these daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends as well. And again, appreciate finding ways to support us here at the channel. Our memberships are super thanks and in the description below as well. All right, now let's get into the forecast here. For many of us, the first part of this week will be brought by some drier conditions, but that will change relatively quickly. Now, you can see the moisture out of Sara beginning to kind of stream up to the north and to the east. This moisture is going to encounter a relatively strong cold front coming through the southern plains of the United States. That moisture will be picked up and elongated and is going to bring the opportunity for an area of some heavier rain and then some gusty winds. Now, again, this is not going to become tropical in nature. Let me be clear about that. But it will bring some moisture to return to portions of the Gulf Coast of the United States and eventually the Bahamas as well. So let's get into that. Let's take a look at a couple of things. We'll deep dive into the tropical situation coming up here later. But for now, that's too close. Let's just go this far out in time because I just want to show how the moisture associated with what's left over Sara is going to play out, all right? It's going to come up to the north, get bent back to the north and to the east, be picked up by that front and the trough associated with it, and then actually kind of get shoved back to the south and to the east, all right? Let me bring on the model timeline. So again, today is the 18th, so this is by tomorrow afternoon, that moisture has already made the Gulf Coast of Mississippi and Alabama and especially the panhandle of Florida, where we could have a few inches of rain in this area, okay? Then that moisture gets pushed back south and east as we go overnight and into our Wednesday. So we're going to see some rain moving into the peninsula of Florida throughout the day on Wednesday, and this moisture will be able to go back south and east and bring some scattered showers to the northern and northwest Bahamas late on Wednesday and through portions of Thursday. So places like Walker's Key and Grand Bahama and the Abacos and Bimini and New Providence and Andros, Eleuthera, maybe down towards Cat Island and the Exuma area, all with the opportunity for some some scattered showers. Now, this moisture is running into that drier air, so it's going to start to fall apart. You can clearly see that the heaviest rain is much farther north and west than the northwest Bahamas, but we're going to get some scattered showers to return Wednesday and into our Thursday. This should also bring some rain back to portions of Cuba, eventually as far south and east as the Turks, the Caicos, the Cayman Islands, and Jamaica. So moisture will begin to feed back in twofold here. One, because of that remnants of Sara, but also because we'll be building back in some moisture from the Eastern Caribbean as well. So enjoy the next couple of drier days with what should be relatively comfortable humidity values and temperature values as well, because there is moisture that will be returning here, especially as we get towards the end of the week. Okay, so you can start to see that rain begin to build back into these areas, and I am going to have those rain chances coming back up. But Tuesday and Wednesday, look to be relatively dry in these areas, and you can see some of this moisture coming back down here. Now, again, for Panama and Costa Rica, there's still a lot of Pacific moisture to play with here, and this is an area we'll be talking more about as we have been. It seems like the last couple of months of hurricane season for, additional moisture, if nothing else, to develop across the Central American gyre. For the time being, things are relatively quieter through the rest of Central America, Nicaragua and Honduras and Guatemala and Belize and the Yucatan. But rain chances should begin to improve again in these areas starting on Thursday as well. We hope that it's not going to be concentrated rain, but just more moisture returning. But let's get a few drier days here. Same situation for our friends in Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, where I think it's going to be relatively dry Tuesday and Wednesday. Going to start to up the rain chance again on Thursday. And again, we had some flash flooding yesterday across portions of Puerto Rico. Hopefully things are quieter there. And then the scattered rain will continue for the Lesser Antilles, especially the southern half of the Lesser Antilles and into the Windward Islands. Just a little bit more moisture concentrated here as that trough sinks off towards the south. So take a look at it here through Tuesday and into Wednesday. Scattered showers continuing. Nothing extremely concentrated, but there's just a little bit more moisture in the atmosphere here. In the ABC Islands, I don't have a huge chance for rain, but I think there's the opportunity here that we could pop off a couple of showers. There's just enough moisture still in play here, relatively speaking, right? The air is going to be drier north and west to begin, but that moisture will begin to return to the area. And then as we get towards the latter part of this week and into the weekend, rain chances are going to start to return. Now, to kind of top off the remnants of Sara, you can see on the European deterministic model, there's a very broad mid-level center here, nothing that gets redeveloped tropically. I just want to point that out. But that area in green is what's coming in with the moisture, and you can see that making the northwest Bahamas on Thursday. And again, that is some wind, and that is going to be some rain for those areas. Okay, speaking of the wind, if we take a look at that, and again, sometimes my computer just does not appreciate me doing that. So give me just 1 second. Let me bring this back up. And now it should cooperate. There we go. Okay, so let's bring up the timeline again. This is going to be through basically Thursday, the 21st. So let me loop this up, and just to show you again, there's going to be a bit of wind energy coming with this. I think we're going to have gusts maybe 25, 30 miles an hour. Now, this is being pushed along by our cold front here in the United States Southern Plains that has a lot of wind and some rain associated with it. So this kind of gets absorbed into it, and it gets pushed more in a line than anything else, rather than having a true center of circulation. But for these areas and then into the Bahamas, especially late Wednesday and into Thursday, we're going to start to get some fresh breezes to return to the area. I would expect some winds easily 20 to 25 and some locally higher gusts. Now, outside of that, because of the ridge of high pressure and a little bit quieter weather, not a lot of wind here, right? But you can see that ultimately we'll start to see the winds freshen back up in our northwest areas as that moisture starts to sink back to the south and to the east. So looking at the rain chances, island by island, northwest Bahamas, still quiet the next couple of days. Same thing for the central and southeast Bahamas. Late Wednesday into Thursday, we're up to a 40% chance. But again, that rain will be breaking apart as it gets into the northwest Bahamas, but still some scattered showers. Not as high of an opportunity for the central and southeast Bahamas into the Turks, the Caicos. You saw that moisture coming back into Cuba, so Cuba's rain chances will start to elevate by Thursday as well. Cayman Islands, Dry the next couple of days, isolated on Thursday. Belize City, we need to see drier weather. A few spotty showers possible the next couple of afternoons, but many dry hours and locations. That's what we need. That includes Guatemala and Honduras as well. We are back up to a 50% chance for showers on Thursday. Cancun and Cozumel kind of misses some of the moisture to the north and to the west, so isolated but nothing too heavy. Jamaica will be relatively quiet the next few days, but again, comfortable conditions outside, so enjoy it. 30 on Thursday. Dominican Republic, dry for the most part in the next couple days. 40 on Thursday. Look at Puerto Rico. Very low chances. Same thing for the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. The next couple of days, moisture begins to move back into the area on Thursday. Bermuda, dry but windy in a couple of spots, and then there's a few scattered showers on Thursday. Here are again your highest rain chances. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, 60% chance tomorrow. Still 50 on Wednesday, 40 on Thursday. Good rain chances for Antigua and Barbuda as well. Look, that front and that trough, not going to make too much more progress off to the south and to the east. So as it stalls out, all the moisture-laden air is south of that, and that's where all of our friends here are. Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. These are your highest chance areas. Spotty, heavier rain. Again, we had the flash flood advisory today in St. Kitts and Nevis. We've had some flood advisories for portions of Trinidad and Barbados. And those localized heavier rain events are still in the forecast here over the next couple of days. Barbados, a 50% chance tomorrow, Wednesday, 40 on Thursday, 40 to 50, Trinidad and Tobago and our friends in Grenada. Good rain chance tomorrow in Suriname, still pretty high Wednesday, Thursday. Guyana, pretty solid rain chances there. More isolated in nature for Nueva Esparta. I've got a few showers tomorrow for the ABC Islands, and then probably down to a very limited chance for your Wednesday and your Thursday. As far as surf and sea conditions go, again, western sides of the Atlantic will be dealing with some higher sea conditions, pretty good wind energy there. Obviously, we're going to kick up some seas in the north central Gulf of Mexico as the broad circulation and, again, catching that cold front comes in. Notice that the winds change out of the north, and that's the next push of some wind and some rain back into our area. So again, early in the week, we have more of a south wind in the Gulf of Mexico. And then as that next front comes in, it's picking up the moisture from Sara, so it's not as dry as it would otherwise be, right? And it pushes some of that rain and some of that wind energy, kicking up the surf and sea conditions. European model, again, you can clearly see where the remnants of Sara and the moisture associated with it are going, mainly to the northern Gulf Coast of the United States, portions of the Panhandle Peninsula of Florida, but the Bahamas get into the action as well. Still relatively dry though for the Bahamas, Turks, the Caicos, most of the greater Antilles. You can see some of that heavier rainfall in the lesser Antilles. Portions of Panama and Costa Rica with the very heavy rain will start to pick up a little bit more rain back into other areas of Central America. And then again, you can clearly see that the European model has a lot more rain for the Southwest Caribbean, and that stair steps into our next story, right? We're still in hurricane season. We just got done with a tropical storm. So what does the rest of November look like? Well, first of all, let me just say this. Nothing appears imminent in any way, shape, or form, right? I haven't mentioned in the video as of yet anything to look at. That being said, we have to keep an eye on things. So I'm only going to go out about a week, right? Now, again, both the European and the GFS ensemble models, right? Those are two main global models. They're not showing anything at least through early next week. And generally speaking, guys, we're getting towards the end of our window for tropical development. It doesn't mean we can't get something towards the end of November. It doesn't mean we haven't seen tropical systems in early December, right? And again, a lot of you have asked, well, Rusty, what about these waves coming off of the West African coastline? We're too deep into this season. That's August, September, early October. That's the prime tropical wave train coming off the west coast of Africa. Typically, as we get into late October and November, these are homegrown storms, and we have seen that. I mean, obviously, we've had what? Helene and Nadine and Raphael all coming from the western side of the Caribbean, the Central American Gyre. Sara now joins that list as well. And it's that same spot, guys, that we'll have to keep an eye on. And it's nothing more than that. If anything else, just like we talked about with Raphael and Sara, improving rain conditions, higher rain chances beginning early next week. But we still have this broad spin. And I promise you this, we still have sea surface temperatures that can absolutely support tropical storms, okay? You need at least 80-degree Fahrenheit temperatures at the sea surface. That's about 26.7 degrees Celsius. right? Anywhere in the oranges are at that. And guess what? The Caribbean is still way, way warmer than that. 28, 29, 30 plus degrees Celsius through most of the Caribbean. It's only Sara bringing an upwelling here towards Honduras and Guatemala and Belize, where their temperatures have dropped. We're not going to support tropical development in the Gulf of Mexico, but that doesn't mean if a storm moves that way that it would just completely fall apart, but it probably wouldn't get any stronger. Same situation towards the Bahamas and the Western Atlantic. It is still the Caribbean that has prime sea surface temperatures and still very, very little wind shear. So if I look at the European wind field models, I showed you the GFS, but here's the European wind field right here. You can see we still have this inherent spin in the Southwest Caribbean. You still have a lot of wind energy highlighted in green in the Central Caribbean, right? That was kind of feeding into this gyre. So there's still indications to me that this area bears watching. Nothing more than that at this point in time. Nothing more than that, okay? But you can see when we translate it to the GFS model, when we go about a week out, we start to see more activity redevelop here, right? You start to see more rain and a few storms, if anything else. So just more active weather overall. If I show you the vorticity associated with this, right? Again, I love to look at this product. It's not surface-based vorticity, but it is a composite of the lower levels of the atmosphere. It gives me areas to keep an eye on for spin, and that's one of the first things that we see. Now, you'll see some spin coming through the Gulf of Mexico and the Western Atlantic. Those are mid-latitude storms this time of the year coming off of the United States. But if you look down here, you'll start to see a little bit of that twist there. And if I take it out just a little bit longer in time, couple more days, but not even towards the end of November yet, which again is still technically hurricane season, and let that loop up, you'll see towards the end of this loop, right where those same four storms formed, we have a little bit more vorticity in the atmosphere. You can just see that spin right there. It's something I'm going to be watching for. Again, the ensemble members haven't picked up on anything tropically to develop, but I've had a lot of those questions asked of me recently. Rusty, are we done with the Atlantic hurricane season? My answer is I hope so, but it's not a guarantee. We're not able to close the book as of yet. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can find us across all social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, help tell the story here at Meteo Mundo. It's mymediamundo@gmail.com. As always, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. While you're down there, I do appreciate you guys liking this video and subscribing. We are on our way to 50,000 subscribers. Would love to get there this week. I think we can do it with your support. Friends, have a great rest of your Monday. I'm back tomorrow with the latest. I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.